The next time you talk to someone on the phone, watch your hands. You will find that they are moving, pointing at nothing, tracing shapes in the air that the person on the other end of the call cannot see. And if you try to stop them, something strange happens. The words slow down. The sentences become harder to finish, as if the hand and the mouth are running the same program, and you can't turn one off without interrupting the other. You have probably done this your entire life without noticing. There is a reason for that. Your hands were speaking long before your mouth knew how. No one knows exactly when human language began. The oldest confirmed writing is about 5,000 years old. The oldest clear evidence of symbolic thought is perhaps 100,000 years old. But Homo sapiens, the same species, the same brain, the same body you have right now, has existed for at least 300,000 years. That leaves a gap of 200,000 years at minimum, during which beings who looked exactly like you were walking the earth, raising children, burying their dead, planning hunts, forming alliances without a single word. Not a syllable, not a sentence, not a name. And yet they survived. They organized. They crossed oceans, populated continents, and built social groups sophisticated enough to require cooperation between dozens of people who were not related by blood. Something was allowing them to communicate. Something was working. For a long time, scientists assumed we would never know what it was. Then a researcher in New Zealand began paying very close attention to something that had been in front of us the entire time. In 2002, Michael Corballis, a psychologist at the University of Auckland, published a book called From Hand to Mouth. It drew on decades of comparative research between humans and our closest living relatives, and it made an argument that most linguists at the time found deeply uncomfortable. Language did not begin with the voice. It began with the hand. The evidence, Corballis pointed out, was sitting in plain sight in every primate research facility in the world. Scientists had been trying for decades to teach chimpanzees to speak. It never worked. The primate vocal tract is not built for speech, and no amount of training changes that. But when researchers stopped trying to teach apes to talk and started teaching them to sign, to communicate through hand gestures, something different happened. Apes learned. Not perfectly, not with grammar, but they pointed. They combined gestures into sequences. They used gestures intentionally, waiting for a response, adjusting when the response did not come. What Corballis argued was that this was not a curiosity or a party trick. It was a window into the past. Before human ancestors evolved the specialized vocal anatomy for speech, the descended larynx, the precise breath control, the motor cortex wired for articulation, the hands were already doing what we now do with words. Gesture was not language, but it was the original draft. But here is where it gets stranger. In 2022, Kirsty Graham and Catherine Hobaiter at the University of St. Andrews recruited over 5,000 people for an unusual online experiment. They showed participants short video clips of wild chimpanzees and bonobos communicating through gesture. Reaching out an arm, extending a hand, touching the back of the neck, and asked them to guess what the gesture meant. The participants were not primatologists. They had no training. They did not know the animals. And yet they interpreted the gestures correctly, significantly better than chance, across the board. Graham and Hobaiter published their findings in PLOS Biology and described what they found as something close to a shared gestural vocabulary between humans and our closest relatives, one that had survived more than 6 million years of evolutionary divergence. Think about that number, 6 million years. That is how long ago the lineage of chimpanzees and the lineage of humans split apart. And across all of that time, the gestures persisted. Reach out an arm. Come here. Put a hand on the back. I want to groom you. Extend a flat palm. Stop. These gestures are older than fire. They are older than stone tools. They may be older than the genus Homo itself. When your ancestors looked at each other across the grasslands of East Africa, 300,000 years before anyone had ever heard a human word, they were reaching out their arms and waiting. And the other person understood. Not because they had learned the gesture, because they already knew it. This is the program still running inside you. Watch a group of people arguing, and you will see hands slicing the air, palms turning upward in appeal, fingers pointing to make a point the voice alone cannot land. Watch someone tell a story about something that excited them, and their body expands, opens, takes up space. Watch someone tell a story about something shameful and they fold inward, shoulders forward, hands pulling toward the chest. None of this is decoration. None of it is habit. It is the original language running underneath the one you learned in school. Psychologist David McNeil at the University of Chicago spent decades studying the relationship between gesture and speech and found something that Corballis' theory had predicted. Gesture and speech are not two separate systems. They are one system expressed through two channels simultaneously. When you speak, the gesture is not illustrating what you are saying. It is part of the thought itself. The hand is thinking. This is also why people who are born blind gesture when they speak, even though they have never seen another person gesture and even though they know their listener cannot see their hands. No one taught them to do it. No one modeled it. The gesture emerged from the thought the way it always has. Your hands are not following your mouth. They were there first. And some deep part of your nervous system has never forgotten that. In 2002, the same year Corballis published his theory, a different kind of discovery came out of a cave on the southern coast of South Africa. Archaeologist Christopher Henshelwood of the University of Bergen had been excavating Blombos Cave for years, working through layers of sediment deposited over hundreds of thousands of years. In deposits dated to approximately 75,000 years ago, long before modern humans ever reached Europe, long before cave paintings, long before anything we typically call art, his team found something that should not have been there. Pieces of red ochre, deliberately engraved with geometric lines, cross-hatched patterns, repeating shapes, not random marks, not accidental scratches, designed. Henshelwood published the findings in Science and described them as evidence of symbolic behavior, proof that the people who made these marks were not just responding to the immediate world in front of them. They were making something that meant something beyond itself, an abstraction, a representation, a symbol. What language does in its most fundamental form is exactly this. It takes a thing in the world and gives it a mark that stands for it. A word is a symbol, and these ancient people were making symbols 75,000 years ago, carving them carefully into stone, using a hand that had been learning to communicate for hundreds of thousands of years before that. They did not have words, but they had something language is built from. Language is young. In evolutionary terms, it is practically new. But the need to be understood, to reach out, to mark something, to make another person see what you see, that need is ancient beyond reckoning. For 200,000 years, maybe more, your ancestors moved through the world in a kind of contact that we no longer have a name for. Not language, but not silence either. Something in between. Something that could organize a hunt, grieve a death, signal love or warning or welcome without a single spoken syllable. We inherited their hands. We inherited their gestures. We may have inherited more than we know. What we do not know, what we cannot know, is what it felt like to be understood before there were words for any of it.